much on anything.
Oh my God. Jason Resnick, I'm so glad that you you said that we're still not live.
Yeah.
I forgot to click auto start. And so we've been talking this whole time, spilling the beans on this special announcement. Nobody's been watching.
It was a good rehearsal. All right.
It was a good rehearsal. So, but the good thing is Dave Jones just joined the chat. We've got all sorts of people here in the chat. Dave Jones just joined the chat. He says, I'm glad I haven't missed the announcement yet. There's always a work emergency that takes me away from these live streams. So, yes, we have been teasing this announcement. We're going to start the podcast officially, and then we get into it. We've got 2 special announcements for y'all. So yes. I'm so glad you're all here. Okay, now we've
only been podcasting for like 10 plus years. And
talking to no one, but Jason Resnick seriously saved us there because, and I've already said hello to all of you live, like Chad. I'm so glad you're here for the first time. This is so funny. All right, here we go. Take 2. Welcome to the panel where bootstrappers talk about building a better life and a better business. I'm Justin Jackson, the co-founder of Transistor.fm.
And I'm Brian Castle. I'm the founder of Builder Methods.
And thanks for joining us for this special episode. We have teased that there is a special announcement coming. We actually have 2 special announcements. We have the most people watching the live stream ever. We have 25 people here in chat waiting for the announcement.
All right.
And I think we should just get right into it.
Let's just get right into it. Here we go.
Announcement number 1 is we are welcoming a new permanent co-host to the panel. This is somebody you all, if you've been listening to the show, they've been a guest before. You know them, you love them. They were a crowd favorite. People wanted to see more of them, and we are responding by making them a permanent fixture here on the show. I'd like to welcome as the new permanent co-host, along with Brian and I, we have, he's still hiding, Jordan Gall.
Oh, there he is.
I am reconsidering. After that showing, I'm not sure. I think I said yes too quickly.
It's his first and last episode.
All right. So for folks at home,
he's back.
This is
back on the show. We're we're I'm super excited. The panel is becoming a true panel. Jordan and I are reuniting as co-hosts in a new format, new home here on the panel. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Yes.
So if folks don't know Jordan, Jordan is the founder of Rosie. But previously, Jordan and Brian had really one of my favorite ride-along buddy cop podcasts called Bootstrapped Web. And so you have some history. So Brian, you were the one who kind of pitched this idea to Jordan and I. Maybe talk about that, and then let's get into how the show is going to change moving forward.
Yeah, well, first of all, once again, Jordan, welcome back to the show. Welcome back on air. I'm super psyched to hang with you again. We've been talking a lot about this off air.
Thank you. So it's good to be back. I kept listening to your podcast and being like, but I have something to say right then.
That's the sign of a good podcast. Yeah. If you're like, I got to say something.
Yeah, for sure. So as listeners of the show know, especially if you've been with Justin and I for the past year, especially early on, we've been really experimenting with lots of different approaches to how we do the panel. And the original idea, and we started this about a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago, was to make this the panel. That's the name of the show. The idea was to bring some friends in on every episode. But it was like logistically difficult for a number of different reasons, not just scheduling, but also figuring out like topics and matching up the right people and time zones and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Fast forward to about last week, I've been having a ton of fun just, Justin and I doing the normal like week to week, talking about our thoughts on business and life and what we're up to. But meanwhile, Jordan and I have been talking a lot, and Jordan was a guest with us 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I was on one of my like, over caffeinated mornings with lots of ideas spinning around. So I pitched this to Justin first. I was like, what if we not think about guests, but think about turning this into a 3-host show? And like, who better than Jordan? I mean, Jordan had been podcasting, over the past year, but not so much lately. And it seemed like a good time for all 3 of us. And I haven't even pitched it to Jordan yet, but the next day, after Justin was on board with the idea, I pitched it to Jordan, and here we are.
I mean, this is really full circle for me, because I was the guy listening to you guys talk on Bootstrapped Web going, I've got something to say. Let me in there. So finally, it's like all of my podcast dreams are coming true here.
It worked out the way it was supposed to, right? I did my own podcast for a while, and then I stopped. And then I was listening to yours and kind of like daydreaming about podcasting. So every once in a while, I would just like ping both of you guys with a compliment. I love that show. Great episode, guys.
And I think I am also looking at this like from a formatting standpoint and like a content production standpoint. And I always like to, when it comes to podcasting especially, I like to think about our shows as like something I would really want to tune into myself. I actually do, listen back to most of our episodes, like of the panel, and I used to do the same with Bootstrapped Web, because even as a co-host, I still get enjoyment out of like going back and listening to it. And I just know the 3 of us. The 3 of us have known each other for a long time, both off air and on air. And I knew that it would. I think, first of all, the idea of going to 3 hosts is really interesting and exciting to me on a number of levels, and we can get into that. But I also think that like what Jordan and I had with Bootstrapped Web, which worked, I think, really well, is that we both come at business in slightly, different approaches and different experiences, different backgrounds, some very similar backgrounds as well. Both of us like growing up in the New York area and whatnot. And then same like different dynamics with me and Justin, different countries, different backgrounds, a lot. And then thinking about the 3 of us together, I feel like, again, it can be that situation where it's like 3, I think, pretty different voices, a lot of overlap, a lot of different in background and opinion. And I think that'll make for some interesting conversations. And
really different businesses, right? Like,
yeah.
Brian, you're running Builder Methods, which is like a solo person content driven business. Jordan has funding. It's a funded startup and has pivoted from the first idea to the second idea. And now Transistor is kind of a mature bootstrapped business. So I think that variety is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And then I started getting into, I like to also get into like sort of like product mode. Like, how do we make this an interesting product, right? As a podcast. And so formatting, right? Like three co-hosts, and 3 hosts does come with some challenges, right? We've even experienced this whenever we had a 3rd or 4th guest on the show. Literally just like, let's try not to talk over one another, or let's or how do we get have enough space for all the people on the broadcast to be able to get their airtime, get their say in, who talks when, and who's driving the conversation. So so then the idea of I don't know if the order of agenda here, but we can get into like the idea of like the logistics for the show. But I wanted to kind of turn it over to Jordan real quick. Jordan, I mean, what are your thoughts on all of this? Like, why were you receptive to the idea when I messaged you about it?
So from like a personal, selfish point of view, in terms of like what is interesting about joining, I listen to a bunch of podcasts, and a big range from David Chang on cooking to politics to the All In podcast, but nothing feels as relevant as your podcast. And so when I like listening to your podcast makes me want to share what I think and I'm working on and I'm learning, and I lost that avenue. I'm not good at doing it in a written format. This is the format that I prefer. And I did my own thing for a while, and I missed some of the like dynamic around a recurring show with the same people. And I agree with you on three can be interesting because if you just do the two and then a new guest every time, it's tough to avoid it becoming an interview.
Yeah.
Right.
And you don't want it to be an interview, not always. So I'm hoping what we can get to is like a real 3-person show with 3 different points of view. And I think the idea that we have right now, that for each episode, one person will lead the discussion as the host, I think that can work. And I think it's up to that person to identify the topics and also keep the conversation moving. I think we can learn a lot from the All In show where they'll give air to a topic. And not every single person has to talk about every single topic. Sometimes one person kind of leads it because they're the most passionate about it, and the show keeps moving forward. So I hope that's what we can get into.
Yeah.
But more than anything, I'm excited to share what I'm thinking and working on and have it in the mix of your opinions and your conversations. I do think we come at things from 3 different points of view, but we're not actually that far apart. It's like different experiences, different types of companies, but it's in the same range of like whatever our universe of relevancy is.
Yeah.
I'm psyched.
I think the other thing that, because I was listening to your podcast, Jordan, offsite, and I think you're just also a very good host. And I think that gave me a picture for what this could look like if, I think we've gotten into it now, that the new format is that one person is going to be the host for every episode. So it's their job to come to the episode with a topic. The other 2 can just show up and they are going to present the topic, and then they are going to kind of drive it forward, get the other 2 panelists involved. And I think that's just going to be such an interesting way to do things. It kind of fired me up when I heard about it. It's like, this solves so many problems. It solves the problem of like sharing too much and everyone trying to get, their updates in. It also opens up this opportunity for having a surprise guest, which has happened a variety of times on the show already. And it was always exciting when it happened. So for the host to say, and I've got a surprise guest, here's the topic and there's a surprise guest. I think both of those are going to be really fun for us to explore.
Yeah, I love the idea of the rotating host of the show. And obviously we all know each other and we are actual like equal co-hosts, so this will just be a general conversation. But I think the idea with a rotating host is it solves a number of problems that I think we would normally run into, right? Like one is like just who's driving the conversation, who's coming in with a couple of like bullet points and like what's the focus of today's episode. And so we can sort of defer to that person to lead the way and keep the conversation moving and make sure we're hitting on the right segments. The other thing is like all 3 of us have had experience with this, like let's share your update and then let's share my update and then maybe back to you and what are you working on, and like that has worked well. And I think this is where we can start to think of the future of the panel as like this is really like a new direction for all 3 of us, right? We're not trying to necessarily revive Bootstrapped Web. We're not trying to just do what Justin and I have been doing for the past year on the panel. We should start to think of this like a sort of a new direction. It'll still have the same flavor. You know us well, but and the idea there is like let's open up this space for all 3 of us to bring like what is top of mind for us, and we can sort of take turns week to week, like whatever Jordan thinks would make for an awesome like deep dive episode. And it can be about anything: business, non-business, life, culture, work, like world, whatever it is. Bringing on a surprise guest, I think it just kind of opens up that space.
Yeah, man.
I also
I'm
like
pumped.
that we often disagree on a topic or a story. And I think that's fun and healthy for a show.
Yep.
And the truth is, things right now in our industry are so fun and exciting. There's
Yes.
so much, and it's so new that it just doesn't feel stale. These topics don't feel stale. Talking
Yeah.
about go-to-market, product, design, distribution, it all has like a very new coat of paint on it.
Yeah.
And a lot of opportunity to just throw old wisdom out the window.
Yeah.
And that's fun to talk about because I'm confused about what's happening and I don't know how to think about all of it.
Yeah.
And I end up, my poor team, that we try to minimize calls, but they know I need calls. I need to talk through this because I need someone to talk to just go. I'm sorry, it's going to be half an hour in your day that I'm basically just going to be monologuing with some of your feedback, but I don't know how to think about how to take what's happening in engineering
Yeah.
and drag it over to go to market. I don't know how to think about the fact that we can build all the features very, very quickly. And so should we? Are our competitors going to do that? Should we care about our competitors? So I'm excited to be able to talk through it. And I'm sure we're not going to agree on all of it.
Yeah.
And,
Well, it's
and
perfect. Now instead of a
sounds good.
30-minute call, you just send your team a 2-hour live stream link.
Yeah, at least they can like go to 1.4x, as opposed to Zoom with me. You can't do that.
Yeah, totally. I think it will be really interesting to kind of pick up on a lot of the same stories and themes that we've talked about for years. But it's true that here in 2026, it does feel like, I think to all of us, like everything has changed a lot. Maybe some things haven't, but like I think a lot of what we've talked about in the past is going to have a completely new light and a new perspective now. And we got into this, when Jordan was on the show a couple of weeks ago. I'm sure this is going to continue. I mean, that also brings me to, I think another reason why I think it's worth putting some effort and some and like remixing this podcast rather than just kind of like showing up and going through the motions and like the whole idea of turning this into a 3-host show and working on the format is like, I really see podcasting and what we do here as a pretty important, like, strategic part of what I do. I think what all three of us do from a marketing perspective, from a building in public. And I think that now it's always been important to me. And I think all of us throughout our careers, I feel like it's more important than ever now to even like double down on the idea of being out there, being public, being human on microphones and generating raw human content that we can, leverage for our business. Right?
Yeah. And to be clear, the second announcement, just so it's, because I've seen some people in chat are like, what's the second? The second announcement is that the format of the show is changing. So we're going to go from kind of a update driven show where we're just running through, like, each of us would have a list of 3 or 4 things to talk about. Now the host is going to bring a topic and all 3 of us are going to talk about it. And I think this is also an opportunity for the audience to get more involved. If there's a topic, a question, something you're confused about, like Jordan said, something that you would like to see us 3 argue about, hash out in public for your benefit, you're going to be able to suggest those, say, hey, okay, I want to hear you guys talk about team dynamics. How is this new disruptive force of AI affecting your team? I want to hear how it's affecting marketing. I want to hear. So there's always going to be links in the show notes where people can reach out to us. And in the past, we haven't been able to respond to those as much, but now this format lends itself perfectly to like give us some ideas. And especially since eventually I'm going to be the host and I'll be like scrambling for like, what do we talk about? If I'm hearing from the audience and I can go, oh, a lot of people want us to talk about this, then it's very likely I'll choose that topic.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up because this was actually another idea I hadn't yet mentioned to you guys. I don't know if this would play out this way, but one thought that I was having last night was, okay, so if we're rotating, say, there's 4 weeks in a month, like 3 of those weeks, one of us is a co-host, maybe the 4th week could be that like open that extra week could be the place where we get our actual like updates in, plus like some mailbag, right?
Yeah.
Because I do think that there's still going to be the element of people just kind of wanting to tune in to our ongoing stories. That's always been a draw in Bootstrapped Web and the panel, I think. But I also want to make sure that like when each of us is a co-host, we're coming in with like, this is the topic that I really want to focus the conversation around. But at the same time, I know we're gonna want to make some time, and I think the audience would want to make some time to hear what's new at Rosie, what's new at Transistor, what am I working on, and I think it's also I think this has like historically been a good platform or medium for us to speak our minds about our actual business and what we're seeing, and maybe even talk through vulnerably about like some hard challenges we're facing, so that like that extra week, I don't know if it's every 4 weeks or maybe like further out than that.
Yeah.
So it's like
I definitely want to hear that because
the updates plus like some mailbag questions.
I love that idea.
I'm competing with you as host. I think the host format is actually like a healthy competition, almost like who can figure out the right approach to the host and what feels best, that creates the mixture of talking about our individual businesses mixed in with topics, mixed in with riffing off of the X timeline and where the general conversation is. So I hope we can kind of experiment and bring our own host flavor, and then we'll start to figure out.
Won't lie. So
That's right. That's right. All right, and I think Brian, you had some other ideas about what we could talk about in this show. Less talk, more rock, less of the housekeeping. I want to get into something right now.
Well, I did tune into your interview with Lars Lofgren a couple weeks ago on your. Are you calling that the Marketing for Developers podcast?
Marketing for Developers podcast. Yep.
Nice.
Marketingfordevelopers.com.
Yeah. So really great conversation there with Lars, who is sort of a marketing genius expert. The big takeaway from that conversation was the game now is to be everywhere, build a presence across different platforms, and I think to be more human and that like placing an even higher value on that like personal brand advantage or founder. I think he was talking about it as like a founder branding advantage,
That's right. Yeah.
I have not bought into that yet.
Okay.
I haven't bought into that.
Yeah, I think it's right, and I also haven't felt the need to buy into it because my ICP is pretty far away from me. Right? I'm not like an SMB Main Street like guy, and I don't have an enormous amount of interest in going out and interviewing them and creating a podcast about that and becoming known in that field. There actually is no industry because we're so horizontal.
Yeah.
If anything, like the largest portion, the largest industry represented in our customer base is home services. And I thought about, okay, maybe I should do a podcast with that type of customer and go deeper in there. And I stopped myself because it just feels inauthentic. I'm not going to go all in for the next like 5 years. And then I think about the other industries. So like, I buy into the fact that the founder relationship is super important in marketing. And yet it's not necessary.
Yeah.
Like we're pretty far away from that. Ours is like ad driven, partner driven, SEO driven. And we want to get into other forms of marketing and so on, but it doesn't look like a traditional, here's me, you get to know me and like me and the work, and you respect the work that I do. And when I put the work out, you're connected to both the work and the person behind the work. So I agree that is important and powerful, even more so today. And yet it doesn't seem to be necessary in a business that has a more traditional, non-technical, like, my people are not really on Twitter. I mean, maybe a little bit, but they're just kind of doing their thing.
Can I push into that a little bit? So your background, Jordan, if I understand it correctly, immigrant family, your parents started a small business?
Yeah.
And you worked there, right? Like all the kids worked there. That's how you kind of got your chops initially.
Yes. So after 1 year of investment banking, that I did not like at all, I left and joined my dad in the family business that I grew up like helping on in high school. And then I joined him full time and we built it up. And then my other brothers joined and it was the whole gang, my 3 brothers and my dad running this business. And that was my like SMB experience.
Yes. And
it was significant. It was like many years, something like 5 or 7 years.
Yeah.
Before I went off and did my own thing.
Yeah. And your brother also ran some gyms as well.
My younger brother just sold his chain of Crunch gym franchise business to private equity.
Yeah.
My older brother runs the same type of small business, but in his geographic location. It's like a property tax reduction. It's like a bit legal.
Okay.
Very interesting marketing business.
Yes.
But I've been in e-commerce and then software. I'm kind of like pretty far away from our current ICP.
Yeah, you're far away, but the one thing I want to kind of one thing I've been thinking about is based on that conversation with Lars. I keep thinking about this founder mode thing that people were talking about. What distinguishes, like, basically a bunch of venture capitalists were sitting around having coffee and they're like, man, there's just some founders that have this founder mode and it makes all the difference. Why is that? And I can't get it out of my head. Mm-hmm. And there's this other quote from Patrick Collison, which is basically, a founder needs to have excellent judgment in their problem area. And it extends to what we're talking about with marketing as well. So this idea of founder mode, this idea of the founder doing some sort of marketing that's personal, that's from them, as an individual on their personal Twitter account as opposed to the business account.
Yeah.
And I think where I want to start, because for me, product is marketing, but the founder's experience, everything the founder brings to the table is marketing. It's what brings customers in the door. And I was thinking about you specifically, Jordan, because I just wrote this on LinkedIn. The best product people know what it feels like to be the customer. They embody the average customer's motivations, desires, and pain. And they can do that because they have some firsthand experience with it. They had a immigrant family that moved here and started an SMB. Their brother runs a thing. They've felt the pain. They've been there. Yeah. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean they are like themselves the ideal customer at this moment, but they can at least embody what the average customer wants. And Brian, you've proven this as well, right? So much of your appeal to people is, I'm a developer. I'm not a young 20-year-old that's like gonna love a certain tone, right? I'm a more mature developer and I'm trying to work my way through this AI world. And I think for me, that conversation with Lars and thinking through how does a founder show up in this new ecosystem, both in terms of marketing, but also this just extends to everything. It extends to product, extends to everything.
Yeah.
And I think you just cannot fake the big advantage is going to be product people, founders that really embody what the customer desires. They feel it instinctually. They know it often because they've experienced it themselves.
Yeah. And I think, there's so much there. And I also, I'm also like not really on board with the idea that like every founder of every type of business needs to be doing a podcast and promote their personal brand. Like that's the only thing that works these days. Like, no,
I'm banking on it. Please start a podcast, transistor.fm. If you're a founder, don't miss out. Act now.
Like I think of course businesses can and do work with an unknown CEO founder, right? But I do think that there are even more network effects, network benefits that I think we've all experienced as a result of being out there and sharing in public, and like whether that's like hiring opportunities, networking, partnerships. For me, it's also just been like a sharpening of my ideas. Having these conversations and doing it on air, it forces me to think through and present my ideas in a way that's like, free of mental bullshit that I would do on my own in private.
You guys are in the bubble.
What do you mean?
You're in the bubble. That's one way to do it, and it's one form of leverage. Right? The founder relationship and the Twitter audience and the podcast audience and the email audience and your past work, it is a form of, in the marketing context, is the form of marketing leverage. So instead of here's a message, it's here's a message from me, and there's more that goes on behind that person, the relationship, the history, the reputation, and so on. It is not how 95% of the economy actually works. So it's one way to do it. So look, I've had an experience around this with Rosie. Rosie was a pivot from Rally that just was not growing fast enough. It was too painful to acquire customers. So we pivoted, and the decision to pivot was, I think this is a very painful problem that has never been it hasn't had a solution because AI wasn't available. And so the solutions were very limited. It is just, I can send it to voicemail or I can hire a real human answering service. Okay, so AI comes around and creates this new category of an AI answer in the phone. To me, that's obvious that there's going to be a lot of momentum and demand. So I don't know if you want to call it cynical or calculating approach to getting into the market, but it had nothing to do with like, oh, I love this and I know this space and I feel it in my heart and I can work on it for 10 years. Like that was not it. So as we got into that, as we go further, I do have this strange like guilt or imposter syndrome of like, I don't really know what these people are talking about. I can kind of understand their day-to-day. I grew up in a middle class town, and a lot of my friends dads were contractors, and their moms ran like regular bit. So I was around it. So it's kind of like in the air. But for a long time, I felt this disconnect and the guilt that goes with it of like, I don't feel our customers' pain day to day. And so I don't look at that leverage of like the founder and the audience, but we're like just under 2 million ARR. Like it's working.
Yeah.
And I think it's working because my particular superpower is putting a team together and making them really excited about the problem and making sure they're having a great time and really enjoying their work. And they know more about the customers than I do.
Yeah.
I am not the person with the most knowledge on the customers. I don't do support. I'll talk to partners and try to do integrations and reach out to people and this sort of thing. But I don't talk to customers kind of ever. And my support person does that, and the customer success and the product has these interviews. And my founder strength is putting a good team together and motivating and pushing and creating that space for the team to really like what they're doing and pruning the team so that it's just the people who are really excited about working together. I don't know what that is, but that's pretty far from like being out there in front and using that marketing leverage.
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing for me has been that like with builder methods, 95% of my customers in the funnel now like have never listened to my podcasts or follow me on Twitter, or it's all coming through YouTube. Like and that's been fantastic. I mean, this week my video went insane, like 200,000 views.
It was a good video.
Like, I didn't even see that coming. But and I love it. Like the funnel is working, and YouTube is clearly the core of my business there. But part of me in 2026 is thinking like I do need to broaden the funnel, and this gets back to what Lars was talking about. Right now my business is highly dependent on my YouTube funnel. That's always going to be the core of what I do.
Yeah, that's like the business model though, right? I mean, that's how you can get to a place where one person, maybe you have another person or two on the team, you can make millions if people find you, fall in love with the value that you're giving them, and then you're off with that leverage.
Don't get me wrong. It's like YouTube to me has been incredible. It is literally the only marketing channel that I've been able to leverage where I know for a fact this platform is going to expose me to new strangers every single day, and they are good fit customers for my business, and that's working. The marketing problem that I'm trying to solve, there's multiple, but one of them is that it's highly dependent on me physically being able to produce a new video every week, which is a lot. And frankly, I would love to double or triple that output, but I physically can't. I don't have the time.
Yeah.
But B, like, not every video is a hit. Sometimes they flop, and so then there's some unpredictability there as well. I would like to have more entry points in the top of the funnel. I'm not saying that this podcast is the answer to that. I don't expect it will be, but part of what I'm doing, like with OpenClaw and the AI agents, is trying to generate more raw material. Right now, my main raw material, my whole business is content. I'm in a content business now. Like, that's literally the product. So my core content gets created on YouTube, and that comes from me writing and ideating, but the other place where I generate raw content ideas is on podcasts like this.
It's serving another job.
Yeah, Justin, you're in between. Right. Brian's like business model is really dependent on him. Mine is least of the three of us, and yours is somewhere in between, where people, even if they love you, they still need a solution that works for them.
Yeah. I mean,
and also Transistor has like it highly leveraged Justin's audience in the early days, but now you have plenty of customers who don't know you. Yeah.
Except I'm seeing all of that differently now that I have. This was like such a classic debate in bootstrapping circles. Rob Walling would always say, my audience doesn't affect my signups at all. And I started adopting that philosophy, like, yeah, Rob's probably right. Like, it probably doesn't have that much of effect. And then the more I went along, I had voices like people like Tyler Tringus going, dude, this is affecting your marketing more than you think. Like, there were, the year Transistor started, he said, we almost funded like 10 other podcast hosting companies. There was a ton of them. So how come you made it through that and continued to win and they didn't? Like, what's the difference? And what the conversation with Lars revealed is he said, listen, in the SEO world and the paid acquisition world, we've realized for a long time that founder-led marketing is always a huge leg up. It just has characteristics that give it way more leverage than you might see in beyond even sign-up numbers. So sure, maybe 10, 20% of our signups these days specifically mention me or something that they've seen. But the leverage from having a founder who is in public, who's very public, right? It multiplies. It's one of those things that gets picked up by LLMs. It increases the chances. So as Justin's profile increases, so does Transistor's. I bring Transistor along for the ride, and vice versa. It's a very mutually beneficial relationship. But the leverage you get from founder-led marketing is incredible. And now what people in marketing and growth are looking at, and the dichotomy that Lars brought up, and this is maybe what this is pushing back on Jordan a little bit, is in the past, yes, 90% of the economy hasn't worked like this. But now what they're seeing is they're like, there's really only two channels we're seeing that are working. Paid acquisition, mostly through Instagram and Facebook. And over on the organic side, one of the only things they're seeing that's working is influencer marketing, because people want real people. And so Lars's comment is you either have to be the influencer or pay the influencer. Mm-hmm. And so, and the most kind of pure or authentic form of that is a founder who's like, I'm a human. I'm going to show up all the time representing the company, but also talking about the product and talking about how we're serving customers and bringing folks along for the ride. And then, of course, you can multiply all of that. If you have two founders that are doing that, your leverage is even higher. Lars said if he was starting a SaaS company tomorrow, every single person he hired, he would make them sign a thing that said they have to post on their own personal social media channels on behalf of the company. And you're seeing companies starting to leverage this, like Buffer, Claude, for like you hear from the whole Claude team. They're all
that's right.
That has been interesting to see their teams, put like really like all of their team members are out there,
But that's also the game.
I mean, Jordan, I'm
in.
curious to know.
They're in the conversation game. So the only thing, I agree with everything both of you have said, but it's not necessary. Right. If you don't do it, it does not mean you fail. And there's a lot of these things in our universe where what's most visible becomes assumed to be the right thing to do, like bragging about how fast you're growing, blah blah, that whole thing, or being the founder that's always out there. And then people start to feel bad, like, oh, I can't do that, I'm not as good at that, therefore I can't make it, all this. And I think that's like where the bubble stuff comes in, because there are a lot more businesses where the founder is not out there that are successful than with the founder out there. We see the founder that's out there.
That have been successful. This is one thing I'm going to get a real spicy here.
Okay.
Is if we're going to apply the same rubric to AI, so the idea that AI has completely disrupted the way we build software, that's happening, right? If that's true, is that also going to apply to everything else? So the founders who have been successful up till now have not have been able to do it other ways. But I think what's so crazy about this moment, what has everybody kind of going, what's happening, is we don't know what's going to happen going forward. All of the old rules, all of the old things that we could rely on, like we've basically been building software for the same way for 30 years. It hasn't changed that much.
Yes.
And now 6 months go by and all of a sudden everyone's like, we're building software a completely different way. We don't know how to run our teams. One of the central tensions is that this is really hitting software developers hard. There's I don't know if you guys saw the 5 stages of AI grief article, but people are there's some people that are suffering. And there's these new kind of things floating around, like people saying, like software developers are going like, well, now 90% of what I did before is no longer valuable, but the 10% that I was really, that really matters is what I got to focus on. And I'm looking at all of this and I'm going, holy cow, this is going to affect everything. If everybody is now saying, oh yeah, that 10%, that's my real leverage. But it's not just developers saying that, that's product managers saying it, it's marketers saying that, it's everybody. It does feel like we could potentially, and I don't know, and I don't want to be a downer, but there could potentially be a lot of people who just can't do it anymore because the new bar for distribution and winning and everything else is going to get so much harder. And the things that worked in the past won't work anymore, in the same way that we can't handwrite code anymore. And people held on to it for so long.
I think I keep flipping back and forth on the viewpoint of, AI is like the products and especially SaaS as we know it is going to change forever. Like there are some days when I'm just like, especially established SaaS companies are going to be just fine for many more years to come. I do strongly believe that like starting up a brand new SaaS in 2026 is obviously harder than it's ever been, but I think it's harder by so many multiples more in 2026, just given the speed and ease at which anyone can spin up a competitor. But I also, but then there are days, and this is more so lately, where it's just like, even established SaaS products, I think in the next couple of years are really going to start to feel, we see it in the public markets already, but the, like when renewals come around in 27 and 28 for enterprise SaaS, I mean, as building building your own internal tools gets even better and better, and companies are hiring more internal builders, and their workforces are transforming into more expert AI, enabled builders internally at most companies, small businesses to medium and large. Like that is going to have a real impact on what we think of as software entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think
Joseph.
It's just hard to predict, but like I really think it's more. I'm leaning more toward like shit's really going to change, and less. Even just a couple weeks ago, I was thinking like, no, things will be just fine. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, yes, the change is coming. We happen to see it real up close, and it's particularly hard for software developers because that was like the hardest part. It attracted the smartest people because it was math and really challenging, and to have that be automated almost first is you can understand the whiplash involved in that. Now, I don't
Like actually just real quick
Oh,
on
yeah, go
that
ahead.
point. I'm already well bought into the fact that like developers' lives have completely transformed. I know mine has,
Yep.
and most professional developers have. It's like we know that, but I think the thing that I thought that most people were a little bit delusional about was that like, yes, I know our lives as professional developers have changed, but I think it's going to take way longer than people expect for the rest of the
Yes.
economy.
Oh,
to
for sure.
that won't
transform.
be as violent.
But
Yes.
I'm starting to rethink that assumption too. I guess my larger question is like, what is the impact on actual software businesses, going forward?
Well,
this year,
It's like hyper competition, really intense.
Hyper competition in everything. Did you guys also see the Mark Andreessen Mexican standoff clip?
No.
Okay, I'll see if I can pull it up while we're talking. But the basic idea is he's saying like a Mexican standoff is when three people are all pointing guns at each other, right? And he said, now on Teams you have a situation where there's a Mexican standoff between the product manager, the marketer, and the developer. The product manager is saying, finally, I can translate my vision into code and design. The designer is saying, you guys, I've been getting after you guys about user experience this whole time. I can now code and I can act as the product manager. And the developer's going, well, now I have the skills to act as the product manager and the designer. So everybody is kind of pointing the gun at each other. It's a Mexican standoff. And Andreessen says, in a way, they're all right. And think about how, I don't know if that's actually playing itself out like that, but think about how disruptive that is to teams and team culture.
It is playing out that way in our company. The way I've described it is that it is folding in on itself. It is like the design corner is folding in over the engineering corner. The engineering is folding over the design and product. And it is just kind of like, it is messy. I think we have an easier time with it because we are 6 people and not 600. So that standoff gets resolved more amicably or more directly. Like, we're talking to each other.
Yeah.
So it's like the confusion or the existential crisis has kind of hit all of us separately. So at some point, Rock, right, and on the engineering side, was unsure of what his role was going to be. If all this stuff builds itself, I don't understand. Turns out Rock is a god who has an army of developers at his disposal. And we've gotten to the point where we are now like, hey, Claude, let's work on ticket 1548, go. And then all this stuff happens. So he's now much more certain of his place in the company and in the world in general, because he understands, my experience and knowledge and creativity and intelligence is actually like multiplied.
Yeah.
So
to me,
so he feels good. Then it went over to Jess on the product side, and she was like,
Right.
well, hold on. What am I doing here? Because if I just take a design and I throw it over to engineering and they don't really need me, and it's not even like Claude skips the product part. It like writes the plan. It makes the PRD. It's not even skipping that. So she had her existential crisis. Then she started to realize, oh, I need to adapt certain tools. And also when I work with the designer, that is actually how we make sure our product doesn't turn into an absolute mess that no one understands.
Yeah.
Right. Then it went over to me. So all of us kind of, but I think in a 200-300 person company, let alone 2,000-3,000 person company, it is a Mexican standoff and guns are going off. So there's casualties everywhere.
Yes.
Yep.
And my worry, I think like small, highly actualized teams like bootstrap teams and small startups and solo founders, a lot of those folks are going to have the best time of their life. This moment was like made for them because they are just very good at what they do. They have good instincts that have been honed over years. They have good instincts for what customers actually want. And now they'll be able to test and experiment way faster. They'll be able to iterate faster. But that's like what, 5-10% of the economy? Adam Wathan was just on Matt Stauffer has a new podcast called Practical AI, I think it's called. And Adam's like, listen, like, I know it sucks to say this, but the truth is like, we're just going to need less people. Companies are just going to need less people. We can do way more with less. And there's a lot of news stories that have come out in the last, they've been coming out forever that, AI only lifts productivity by 1% or something like that. I call bullshit. I think that whatever, I haven't looked more deep into those studies, but it's just like, it's undeniable. The teams that I see that have fully embraced it are moving way faster.
Yeah, and I also think it's undeniable that it like headcounts are going to drop. They already have, especially in software teams. It's completely obvious. I do think that the Rocks of the world and the great product managers and the great designers, like anyone in, I don't want to say like leadership, but like more like decision making level in those roles, like the people who are really deciding how a product is going to fit the customer. Those are the people who are really going to thrive. I think we're going to see like a widening of the gap of almost like if you think about like the income inequality thing, like keep going. Like, I think the Rocks and the like the heavy hitters on product teams are going to keep getting more and more valuable in this new world, and the junior, less experienced, and unfortunately, like that is going to be that's where our, like it just doesn't make sense to hire juniors anymore, right?
Yeah.
But like it's really interesting to me how fast. It's like the obvious thing is, of course, we can build faster now, and that's been the case for the past year, and just getting faster and faster. But now it's like expert level product builders are also getting really good at harnessing these tools to build even faster. Like without getting too technical in the weeds, but like things like Ralph loops and like getting to the point where it's like, oh, we can actually engineer systems to leverage AI to build products in a much more predictable way, more successful way. And what that, but like if I just think about the past month, I literally built 5 new tools, 5 new mini apps in my own personal stack to run my business to fill very specific operational roles in my business. They hook into my AI system, they hook into markdown files, but like these are like paper cuts and like operational jobs to be done that I had in my business that I was literally able to ideate, plan, design, build in less than 24 hours, each of them,
Yes.
And even that wasn't possible 3 or 4 months ago. Right.
Yeah.
So like now that kind of thing is possible thanks to advancements in models, thanks to advancements in techniques. Right. But like, so if I'm thinking about the future, yes, our circles of software engineering teams, software product teams, startups, like of course they're already transforming, they're already becoming smaller headcounts, and the heavy hitter product people are the ones who thrive here. But I think about the next wave of where this is going to change the economy is I think more businesses are going to hire builders. more businesses who would not have normally hired software builders in their companies because they just were not software companies. They're going to hire more internally, experts with building their own internal like anybody who works in operations of any kind at any business. The way to be a heavy hitter in operations is to know how to use Claude Code now. It's not to just know how to use Excel.
Yeah, just to even know what's possible. And I have to go in 2 minutes to pick up my youngest, but I want to end off at least my portion of it with some optimism.
Yeah.
I forgot where I read this analogy, but if you think of something like a Downton Abbey and the number of people it used to require to run a household. And when that changed and things became automated and electricity came in and all this other stuff, those people didn't just like turn into paupers living on the street. So yes, fewer people are needed to do the same amount of work, but those people are going to find other things to do. Ideally, it leads into more businesses and more success and more growth and more everything else. With that said, specifically for people in our like layer of the economy, small businesses, very tech enabled, software, big leverage, big potential scale, we are in the best possible position to capitalize on all of this. Yes, the big AI labs and like that's like kind of the teeny tiny 0.01% of success and leverage, because that is just like bringing a completely new technology to the entire world. But in terms of using that technology to our advantage, it's people like us and people listening. We are in the absolute best possible place to take one person and do the work of 10, to take 5 people and do the work of 50. And that gap probably won't last forever, but it will last long enough for us to capitalize on it. So there's a gap like over the next year, 2, 3 years where it should be an absolute party. And I think that's why you see people just almost exhausting them. Rock can't sleep. The excitement and the motivation is like a buzz.
Is like an addiction thing.
Yes,
like,
it's like a high.
Like, oh, I gotta go to dinner, but let me just fire off this one last thing to get Claude going while I go.
Yes,
out.
but and how do I get into Telegram so I can tell it what to do while I'm at dinner with my wife? It's so. But I don't think the impulse is wrong, because the time is now. It is amazing.
It's addicting.
Well, that's probably a good place to end it. The live chat has fully gone over to Jordan's side. They all think Jordan's right. So let's end it on that note. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Later, folks.
Thanks, guys. See you, Jordan. I'm gonna someone in chat there. I'm gonna grab one thing you said for a future topic.
Cool. I'm gonna leave this window open, and I gotta go pick up my my
as long
daughter.
as you leave the chat and leave the window open, we're fine. Yep.
All right. Cool. See you guys. Thank you,
Jordan.
Hell
Thanks.
yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah. Great.
People are still saying that. Oh, let me minimize Jordan here. I'm getting a little echo here. We're gonna get. There we go. People are still saying you're a little quiet, so I don't know if we'll just have to bring your microphone up or.
I don't know. I mean, is there a setting in Riverside? Maybe?
You're maxed out on Riverside's side.
It's weird because like I know for a fact that like when I record anywhere else, if I inch it up at all, I clip.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, there's something. Do you have like audio hijack or anything? Loop back or anything?
This into the SSL into the DBX, or maybe the other way around. And
then... In your system settings, is sound output volume? Is that set or is that minimized out? In chat here, if you're still around, I just want to grab this for a future topic. I think it was Tony, but let me. Tony. Wait. Where is it? Coding things is cool, but maintaining them over time is different. Some people are builders and want to make things, many aren't. Yeah, Tony, I want to talk about that next time. There's a related quote that I've been thinking about. That yes, I think this would be a great topic. So I'm gonna mark. Tony gave us a suggestion here, and I'm gonna write that down. Tony, is it Tony Dewan? Tony Dewan? Which one is it? Tony, just let me know, and we'll mark that for next time.
All right, dude. I'm gonna get off and
all right.
Get my open claw workers working for the weekend.
All right, cool, man.
All right,
talk to you later. Goodbye.
See ya.
All right, it's just me now. Now it's time for the sauna. Now Tony, I can't remember how I pronounced it. Tony Dewan? Yeah, I think the quote that it made me think of is, let's see if I can share this with you guys quick. Is this right here from the Stripe thing. Here we go. Yeah, so it reminded me of this quote here. How come I can't see this page? Here we go. From Stripe. Dewan, is that what I said last time? Dewan? LLMs are incredibly good at building software from scratch when there are relatively few constraints on a system. However, iterating on any code base of the scale, complexity, and maturity of Stripes is inherently much harder. I think this is like just way more true than people are realizing. And so, and this relates to what you were saying, Tony Dewan, that vibe coding a thing is cool, but maintaining things over time is different. And this is a point I made on my blog as well. So yeah, I'm still like concerned about beyond like just vibe coding something from scratch. It's really good at like one-shotting that, or not even one-shotting, but building that initial version super quick. But after that, it's like, what happens, you know? So yeah, if you want, you can check out, I think I wrote this. Let's see if I can find the article. It might be here. Yeah. This article here, I just talk about like before AI, there was tons of like little projects that I quote unquote vibe coded. I wasn't using AI, but I was still vibe coding them. And you know, now I'm getting these GitHub security alert digests for all of them because they've got dependencies that need to be updated. Things are breaking, all that stuff. So who's going to do all that maintenance is definitely a totally reasonable question. So, but yeah, as Rez says, the LLMs are getting better at it as well. All right, everybody. Thanks again for joining us. I think this format's going to really grow as we kind of settle into it. But as always, you can give us feedback. If you go to the panel podcast, if you click on any episode, you'll see you can send us an audio or video message. You can email us at the Panel Podcast Show. You can leave us a comment, or you can reply on Blue Sky. We check all of those. So yeah, if you want to email us with topics or things you want us to address, The email's there. If you want to send us a audio video message, that's there. And anything else here? Send us yeah, and then reply on Blue Sky once we publish the episode. But yeah, really appreciate all of you showing up. Meant a lot to me that yeah. What men's pants did you recommend on the past panel episode? What a great question. It could have been Doer jeans, which are pretty good. I'm almost like going back to, I want to get back into non-stretchy jeans, but I do like these Doer jeans. It's Duer. Yeah, Doer's great. Mott and Bow is the other one that I wear. Mott and Bow. Yeah, if either of these companies want to sponsor the panel, just reach out. And by the way, I'm still a really big fan of Levi's. I'm going to get back into I've been wearing all these tops that I've been wearing are Levi's tops. I love Levi's stuff right now. All right, everybody. Thanks again. Thanks for joining. Really meant a lot to see so many of you switch to this YouTube channel. Would love for more of you to show up again for the next live stream every Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific. I think this is just going to be like so fun to have the three of us on. I can see already that we got the Jordan stands who are love Jordan's takes. So yeah,